And I'm back. Back for more punishment. Um, I did a little bit of work on Sammy yesterday, or a lot of work on Sammy yesterday. I got the pattern for his head figured out. And I said when I was when I was heading out, that I was going to make a test skin for him to make sure the fur was going to fit before I cut into the stuff I was actually going to use, because I don't have a lot of it. So I did. And there he is. And it fits, which is great. This is the fur that I was going to use. It's the same fur that I used on the capybara. It's full of pins, so we'll see how I do. It's the same fur I was going to use on the capybara, which I used on the capybara, and was originally what I was going to use on Sammy, but I was afraid that it was too short, and I actually found something better to use, which is this fur, which is super long, and it's going to look terrible until it doesn't look terrible, because it's going to be super fluffy until I trim it. And so my goal today is to put the final face on and trim it. So we'll see how I do. So anyway, there he is right now. He talks pretty well. Hey, everybody. Yeah, anyway, this all worked. His teeth need to be longer. You can see he has little teeth. They're going to come down to about here, I think. But that's something I won't know the length of until I get the actual fur on and can figure that out. So that's why you make tests of everything. But I'll now take him apart again. So. Okay. But it's good to make tests of these things, especially when you only have limited amount of fabric. And because I machine sewed this, the seams are terribly evident. However, I'm going to hand sew it, so it shouldn't be quite as evident on the final. Let me make sure I get all these pins out. And hopefully, with the longer fur, the eyes won't look quite as big. But if they are, I have slightly smaller ones I can use. I think. We'll see. And I'm going to make the ears bigger too. But again, you really don't know how big the features are going to be until you have the final skin on, because you do add between 1/8 of an inch if you use fleece, up to a couple inches maybe if you have it's very furry. So puppets are a little smaller than you think they are when they're just foam. Okay. Starting to look less like Sammy here. Let's see. Nose. Okay, now the eyes. And that thing I did where I glued the washers to the inside of the eye worked really well as far as finding the hole to poke in the fur once it was done. So that might be a tool I keep in my kit. And I'm going to sew the darts first, and then the center line, and I'm going to leave the mouth open and then glue the mouth. So that's my order of operations here. More than one way to skin a rat here. Okay. Did I get all the pins out? I think so. All right, so this is garbage, but this is garbage. Here's the actual fur I'm gonna use, which I picked up at the Kyoto Brothers moving sale. Okay, so I wanna the direction of the fur is this way, and I usually make it so that in studying my dog Tilly, over the years I've noticed that her fur mostly runs away from the nose. So I'm going to use that same idea. I've done this for years, but this is the idea. I start at the nose as far as where the fur goes, and then down and away from that. So the nose is going to be on this side. Okay. If I'm lucky, I can sneak that right up in there. Yeah. And whatever decision I make on this side will also inform how I do it on the other side. So I'm going to do it that way. I'm going to flip it. Okay. This is very harrowing stuff, because I don't know that I have enough of this fur to make 2 of them, or probably don't. Might be lucky to get a body, 2 arms, and possibly 2 legs out of it. I don't know if I'm going to make legs, but I'd like to have that option someday if I do need to have legs, because I'll never match this fur. You know what? I'm going to move this over. Because I'm never going to use that area for anything. But I might use that. This is the point in the build where it starts to actually look like something, like I like to say. I think that he may not have ears today, but he might have his eyes and his nose on today. Maybe I'll at least pattern the ears. Okay, so I'm going to use a color that's similar. This reads as kind of a pinkish green, pinkish brown to me. It may be something totally different, but like I said, I'm colorblind, so we'll just go with it. Marking all my registration marks. There's one side. Now, my first instinct was, because I do know I need to flip it over, do it that way. No, you don't want to do that because the fur will be going the wrong way. So you flip it over that way. Right, that way. And I'm going to be hand sewing this, so I don't need any seam allowance, but I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra just to save myself a lot of aggravation here. I've only done really one like this where I've had to trim it. That was a monster I made for somebody who wishes to remain nameless. He knows who he is. I have a dog trimmer. I have a dog, but I have a dog fur trimmer that I bought on eBay, which is awesome. It's kind of like a Flowbee. And it has various heads on it that you can shape the fur with. So I'm going to start long and work my way back when I trim it. Oh, wait. Did I do this backwards? No. I'm good. Okay. Just want to make sure. After I made all that stink about making sure the fur ran against or away from the nose, I want to make sure I was actually doing that. Okay. So I'm going to take my somewhat dull persona and I'm going to cut out cut it away from this fabric so that the weight of it doesn't pull it off the table as I'm trying to cut it out. I may regret this when I'm an inch short. Finish this puppet. Okay. I have about 2 yards of it, so it's not that limited, but it is a very finite amount. Okay, so I'm going to get a brand new persona. I'm going to cut out this fur. And I'm going to do it pretty lightly in an attempt to only cut the backing and not the rest of the the pile on the fur. I was actually kind of shocked at how well that fit. I thought I might have to adjust it a little bit, but I'm glad that I at least tried. And I may save just about every part of this just in case I need it. The arm is just a little too short. I have just a little bit of fur. It does dull it very fast, though. I'm noticing. Okay. Ah, he's so huge. Okay. There's one side. I'm going to get a new one because, like I said, it was dulling it pretty fast. But I think I can still use that for other things, so I'm just going to hold on to it for a little bit. I am going to get rid of this other one, though. Never had this problem before. Okay. I didn't like that at all. Hey, Chase, how's it going? I've built or rebuilt almost the entire Melonpool cast since I saw you last, I think. Pretty good. Have you decided to whether or not you're bringing back Melon Pole? Oh, I never really decide one way or the other, but I've been thinking a lot about it a lot. It's a lot of commitment. I do have a lot of puppet work coming in, which is great, but I might try and find time towards the end of this year or the beginning of next year to bring it back, at least for a little while. Depends on how much work I have coming in. But the rest of 2006 is, or 2025 is getting pretty busy. Okay. Got his head. Got his Oop. Okay, so I'm going to pin this on, following the, kind of try and tuck all that hair in there. I'm going to pin it on as close to being where it needs to be as I can. Do you ever use the baseball stitch for anything, or solely the whip stitch? I don't really use the baseball stitch. What's the advantage of the baseball stitch? I know a lot of people swear by it. It seems like they kind of use the same achieve the same purpose, right? Just kind of closing up the seam. I think the baseball stitch might be a little stronger. I use the baseball stitch kind of in that I every ninth stitch or so I tie a knot, which is basically the way I tie a knot is very similar to a baseball stitch. So about every ninth stitch is a baseball stitch. You're basically just tying a knot as you go, right? And what's the rationale for? I mean, I guess not the rationale, but what's the benefit of using the baseball stitch? Okay, there's one side. Like I said, this is going to look terrible until it looks great. Trying to line up all these tick marks and keep all this hair. Ah, the fur. My old friend. Maybe that's why this puppet's just a little bit smaller. He's been starving all this time. Whip stitch is strongless, but baseball stitch will lie flatter against the foam. Baseball stitch hide the seams on Fazell specifically better than the whip stitch. I don't know. I don't know about that. I got some pretty good seams off of the whip stitch recently. I think that you get more out of putting it on wrong side out than any specific stitch you use. I don't know. It's just an opinion. There's 100 different ways to do everything. Now I'm regretting putting this body on. Okay. I think really the only real wrong answer when building puppets is when people say, this is the way you do it, and this is the only way you do it. And there's a lot of people who do that. There's a lot of best practices, but there's no real one way to do anything. It's whatever works. Okay, you got to do these stitches too. Rick Lyon primarily uses a baseball stitch. Good for him. I think I've only met one puppeteer. What's her name? Mary Nagler. Mary Nagler uses the baseball stitch as well. And I think she started with Rick Lyon, so that makes sense. Okay. Let me get my thread. I bought a whole thing of this color so that I could have it. Is that it? It looks awfully red. It's a short one. It's red. That's green. Ah, there it is. Okay, that's the color I was going to use. Maybe I'll do a puppet sometime where I just use a baseball stitch and we can see how it fares. Something I don't have is limited supply of fabric on. Okay. I do not know any other comic like Calvin and Hobbes, maybe, but that was intentional. No, I don't know any other cartoons that are anything like Melonful. It's Walkie had a lot of similarities. I'm not sure of any others. Zortic and I did similar. Mark Meckies and I did similar subject matter, but we kind of did it in totally different ways. The question was, is there any other comic like Melonful? Just want to make sure it's tight. I shipped off 2 puppets, which I can't really show publicly. Well, actually, I can't show them anyway because I don't have them. I shipped them off, and they had some of the flattest seams I've ever done. So I don't know. I think it's just a matter of taking your time and making sure everything's flat. I mean, maybe I'm not even doing this the slips the whip stitch. Because I've got no pucker. I mean, I don't put have any seam allowance on this at all, or I guess it'd be seam allowance. It's also there's not going to be a lot of seams on this thing because of the length of this fur is crazy. I love how I've just been droning on and about this for half an hour. Let's see what we got here. Only 75 more seams to go. Oh, and I just screwed it up. It happens every once in a while. But just remember to buy a candle. Yeah, well, I was tying the knots, so it's not going to be a problem. Yoink. Okay. If you ride melon pool, would you ever go to a convention to promote it? I probably would. I probably would. I actually still go to conventions, but usually you know, I do like puppet stuff. Okay, here's the other side. Make sure that's tight. Wait. And I know those tick marks don't line up, but I kind of anticipated that. The conventions I like to try and hit, if I can, are Gen Con in Indiana and Dragon Con in Atlanta these days. I'm probably going to do WonderCon this year or next year in LA just because it's so close. Oops, what happened? I don't think that's a dimple that's going to stay. I may have to resew this. Let's see. I think it'll be okay. How far off was I on this other side? I don't know. I didn't draw them on there. I'll try to move over the center of the screen a little bit more. All right. 2 down. Really only 2 more darts and then a long seam on the front. I'm going to center this a little bit more. What mech did you use to? What merch did you use to sell on the Melonpool site? Very little. It was whatever was left over from the conventions. I think I sent you everything I sold at one point or another. There were a couple of shirts. There was the one I wear sometimes, the Melonpool one, where it's Ralph screaming Melonpool. And there was one where they're all sitting on a rocket ship. And there was one with them all standing on the Earth. And those are the 3 shirts that none of them did exceptionally well. Mostly I got to the point where I was just selling books. Stuff as much as hair into this seam. I wonder if I can or if I should trim it before I've glued the mouth plate. It might be easier to glue the mouth plate once the fur is trimmed. but I also may need the extra fur to hide stuff. This is going pretty fast, actually. Let's see what we got here. Chase, besides the movie and novel, were there any other crazy things planned for Melnpool that never came out for one reason or another? I don't know. I can't think of anything. I always had big ideas. I guess along with Chris Gleason, we wrote, I think, 3 episodes of a TV series. Never saw the light of day. Yeah, there were three episodes. There was one episode where it was basically the same plot as the Melnpool movie, where they crashed the ship on Earth. And then there was another episode where Sam gets a job. And I think there was an episode where Roberta, it was basically like Roberta's storyline, where she finds the crew and stuff. I think those were the 3 episodes that we did. Most of those plots ended up in the comic, one form or another. So I run out of ideas, I just start mining some of the ideas that were in those scripts. We did a bunch of, I wrote 4 animated shorts that we recorded the soundtracks for, but my skills as an animator weren't really up to snuff. There was one episode written by Ken Plume, where it was actually, there were 2 episodes by Ken. One was about a pot of coffee that came to life. I've already met this one up, I think. There was one episode called Girls' Night Out, where the girls decide to go out when the guys are trying to watch a movie. And that one we actually filmed as a short, but we never finished that. Here's some of the other things I did with that. There was an episode. There was an episode where Ralph tried to join a mad scientist league, and it had like cameos of Dr. Evil and Lex Luthor, and I can't remember who else. Bunch of different crazy scientists that we all did impersonations of. Because I do a pretty good Dr. Evil. But one of the best lines in the whole thing was when Lex Luthor was up there doing a speech, and he's saying something, everybody's heckling him, and he says something, and then somebody yells out in the crowd, "Attaboy, Luthor!" which is a great line from Ghost of Mr. Chicken, as well as the Kingpin movie. We just, yeah, stuff like that. A lot of those ideas got repurposed as episodes of the Kevin Smith quick casts that we did. I always kind of had aspirations for something more than I was, able to do at the time, and get as far as I could on it, and then not really know what to do with it after that. But I generated a lot of comic strips. I generated, I think, around 3,000, 2,800 or something like that. That one lined up a little bit better than the first one. Okay. All the darts are done. Hooray! Okay. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, do you know why there was no National Puppetry Festival this year? I don't know. I've heard some rumors, but I don't know if they're true. But I'm gonna try and go to the next one. That's why I'm taking all this puppet jobs, so that maybe I can actually do some conventions next year. That and they're being offered. I finally feel like I've turned a corner and people actually know who I am for a change. I don't know that I storyboarded one of them, but God knows what happened to it over the years. I storyboarded out the Girls' Night Out one. That one got pretty far in production. I think I even did a couple of shots animated, but my computer at the time just couldn't keep up. And Adobe Flash was very problematic. It was always crashing on me. I'd get one shot done and it would crash. I'd lose everything. Or all the work, it would corrupt. It was terrible. I got to finish that other animated thing I did. That might be the next thing I do. Non-puppet related. Oh, bye, Chase. Okay, as I go along, I'm going to try and ease these registration marks into alignment if I need to. These first ones might be okay. Look at that. Yeah, I was I mean, I would have liked to have done the National Puppetry Festival again this year, but I doubt I could have afforded it this year. This year's really tough on me. I mean, that might have a lot to do with why they didn't have one this year. I think it's probably tough for a lot of people. Oh, I just messed it up. Well, I got most of it fixed. Okay, I'm going to tie that off and get a new piece of thread, I think. It's starting to come together. So I'm doing it at a slight angle to try and get these registration marks to line up. I don't know that I will be able to on this one. See? Yeah, look at that. And I'm not going to do the bottom jaw. Bottom jaw is going to be ladder stitched from the front. And that way I can glue the mouth plate a little easier. I was so excited when I discovered that way to do the mouth plate. And I was talking to BJ and he goes, "Oh, that's the way I've always done it." I go, "That's not the way you showed me to do it." And he goes, "Oh, didn't I?" So I've now gotten a lot cleaner with my mouth plates because of leaving the bottom jaw open like that. Sounds like my machine's chugging a little bit. Is it? Oh, I'm really behind, but it doesn't look too herky jerky yet. I mean, with video as exciting as this, you want to make sure you can see every little bit of it. Use the dart as kind of a registration mark too. After beating the cards, just poke myself with a pin or a needle. I think one more piece of thread and I can get to the end of this. Like I said, this is going to look terrible when I turn it, but it will hopefully look better once I trim it. Oh, I forget how noisy that thing is. If it's really noisy, I may not be able to do it on camera. Can't be any noisier than the hundreds of planes that go over this place. The nice thing about the placement of these eyes is that, and the way I did it, I don't think I'm going to have to glue the eyebrows or the eyebrow ridges I made, because I think the eyes are going to naturally make it conform. I may have to glue it though, so we'll see. When I sewed that other one on this machine, it probably took me 10 minutes to do it. And I know this takes longer, but the hand sewing definitely is worth the time. It's getting tight now. So it will be tighter at this point because the fur is all on the inside, but I just have to fight it into place. The backing should be pretty snug to the skull. Where'd this string come from? I guess I picked up a loose thread and then it was kind of woven in there. So close, but yet so far away. At least my registration marks are more or less lining up. Okay, home stretch. So much fur here in this seam. Getting pretty, I was going to say hairy. So the Sammy I have behind me is largely machine sewn. You can see just about every seam. So doit. So last night I picked my friends up from the airport and their kids were in the car. And they were asking questions about the laser surgery I had to have yesterday in my eye. And so Eric says, so explain to the kids why you had to have your eyes done, your laser done in your eye. But do it like Dr. Evil. So I did this whole monologue about, So I was working a 75-pound puppet, and I blew a blood vessel in my eye. The explosion was spectacular. Anyway, I just went on and on and on. At the end of it, the kids are like, "We couldn't understand you." All right, here we go. Moment of truth. Let's see if I get this on there. I'm going to line up the seam just right. Like I said, this is going to look terrible. I'm not worried about it, though. I keep telling myself. Line up the seam in the back here. How close to that? Wait, no, that's the center there. Okay, great. Center there. This will come around like that. This will come around like that. You can't see that seam at all, thanks to the fur. Okay. All right, I'm going to glue this mouth plate now, I think. Can I do it this way? Okay. So let me show you what I've discovered. I'm not sure it'll work, but we'll try. Okay, so there's the lip line. This is the lip line right here. Here to here to here. So I'm going to put the contact cement on that right now. Oh, it's off the... Yipe. It's going to look terrible until it looks great. I'm going to tell myself that. All right. So let's tuck all that hair under there. There's that. Okay. Get my respirator on. Open the window. Shut the door. All right. Tell you what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to get rid of some of this other fur. Get it out of the way, at least. Okay. All right, with this off of here, I'm going to now take a acid brush. Try not to get glue on too much of the fur. Come on.
I'm going to trim all this screw off anyway. Okay. I'm putting a lot on the nose because this part of it it wraps around under the lip. I have no future plans for these characters. Ooh, this is from me living in the past. No, I don't know. Maybe I'll do some stuff with it again. These things have been in constant disrepair over my head for so long. I felt like I needed to do something with them. I'm still making a mess, but all right. So that's got glue on the inside of the mouth now. And you get a new brush. And I'm going to do the same thing on covered it first. Try not to drip it onto what I just did. I'm going to put some on the mouth plate too. Sorry if you can't see it. Just a second. So I'm running it around the lower lip right now. I know it's off camera, but there's plenty of fur all over this thing. This is a problem Sammy would have to deal with every day. All right. All right, so both sides are now covered in glue. There might be a Bellepole revival. Who knows?
Who knows? I'm always threatening it. Shoot, I would love to see a Melonpool revival. Okay, howdy out there. Hey, TC. Just gluing the mouth plate right now. I think. We'll see how dismally I fail at this. Okay, it's getting tacky. All right. So now, Remove all these pins. I glued the fur to the pin. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very carefully stick that nose down, or that lip, and line it up. Already messed it up. I'm going to trim all this first. So, okay, I got that done. Okay. Now I'm going to very carefully line up the... Oh, this fur is just awful. Okay. Line up the corner of the mouth. And I can go back and fill in any gaps that in the glue. And then line up the center line of this. Okay. It should all work, okay? Let's get the other side done. It's like fizz gig. Okay. Okay. And once I trim away all this fur, it'll look a lot better. But at least I got it around the lip. And it's all in place. It's more or less even, which is great. Let me get the rest of the head in there. Okay, great. Okay, now I'm gonna... Okay. I love how your puppets have their own style to them. It's something I try to achieve my own work. Yeah, thank you. I try. You will. I think you do have a look. Okay, so now I'm gonna ladder stitch this lower jaw shut. Assuming I have enough fur. Yeah, there it is. Great. Get out my curved needle. I have a very cartoony look to when I design the puppets that I make. I think it's because I didn't start by making Henson replicas. I started more trying to make my drawings into 3 dimensions. I think a lot of builders get kind of trapped in that Henson look. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's kind of trying to find your look. Oh my gosh, I got fur everywhere. Wonder where that came from. just want to get this mouth shut, and then I can trim it. It actually looks like something. Okay. Should probably comb out this hair. You guys will be amazed when this all comes together. So will I. I think it's not quite glued in the right spot. Let me see. One side is glued perfectly. The other side looks a little wonky. This is why I hate fur. It's so hard to use. But it looks good when it's done. So. Oh my gosh. Okay. What is it even caught on? So this is the reason why I shouldn't be showing you this, because you know what a hack I am. Maybe I need to brush them out before I go too much farther. All right, what were you saying? Okay. The only time I've ever tried to build a replica was a Kermit I started a few years ago, but I never finished. Okay. Yeah, I know. It's funny. I definitely am really critical of my own artwork. And when I go back and I look at Melonpool and stuff, I'm like, oh, actually is a pretty good artist. What was I thinking? Why did I stop doing this? So the farther you get away from it, the more you kind of appreciate it, I guess. I finally gotten to the point where I forget some of the gags I did. And that they'll make me laugh. And I'm like, oh, okay. I think it was just so frustrating I could never really find an audience. This is painter's tape. What is it called? Frog tape. That I put on this fur so that it'll stay out of my way a little bit. It's going to pull a lot of it out with it, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to trim all this too. It should save me a lot of grief. I can just do that. Did I say frog tape or gorilla tape? It's frog tape. Uh-oh. Okay. A little bit bigger stitch than I wanted, but at least I've got it working. This is probably going to be the hardest part to sew on this whole project, so that's why it's taking me a little bit of time. The neck's going to be tough too. I think, is this the end? I get so far off base that I'm going to have to redo that. Because the end of this one's here, and the other end is here. Let's try that again. But I tied a knot, so I should only have to go back so far. Right now, there we go. Okay. From now on, I only design bald characters. Write what you know. Yeah, I'm going to draw one more comic. It's where Sammy shaved himself. He dreams of becoming a giant, what is it, the naked mole rat. Okay, well, thank you for coming on this journey with me. Okay, here we go. Maybe my mistakes will make it easier for you to recover from your mistakes. I wonder what this fur was originally bought for. It's still a little off, but not as bad. So we're going to call that a win. All right. Okay. Thank goodness. All the sewing on this part's done. Hooray! Okay, where's my glasses? Let's see. Okay. Okay, here we go. So, this is where we are. I've decided just to make Emma daughter now, since that's what I basically built. Okay, no. All right. So, his eyebrows are right here, and his eyes will go right here. So, let me get the vacuumy thing, and I'm going to start to shave him. It's like Wolf and Grimley. I'll switch it to this view. Okay, so I got this really cool pet trimmer, just covered in dust. So I have a dog which I don't have to actually trim until he has a very short hair, but this is perfect for trimming puppets. And it was only like $60. Okay. It is going to be a little loud though, so bear with me. But I've trimmed with scissors before, and what happened? Sorry, I have a little remote for this light, and I guess I hit it. All right, let's get this out of the way. Okay, got my tube. Got my razor. Okay, I got all the different attachments for this thing. I'm going to start with a longer one now because I don't want to take too much because there's. I'll try this one. So I'm going to try the really long one, or the longer one. All right. So again, I want all the hair going away from his nose, and I don't want to gouge him up. So there's that. Here we go. I don't know that I'm taking very much right now. So I'm going to have to reglue that mouth a little bit, but that's okay. All right. So I picked up almost nothing, so I need a bigger, a shorter blade here. So let's try this one. There we go. Did I get anything? I got a little bit of fur now. Okay, so I'm going to go down one more size. Go down to this one. Failing this, I'll just get out the scissors and do it. All right, so I'll show you. You can kind of see what's happening to his. See, it's definitely longer in the back here, which is what I want. He still has a ways to go, but I'm gonna have to re-glue this mouth. See, it's kind of come undone, but I'm gonna continue to trim it until I get it to where I want it, and then I'll fix that. Okay, so let me go down another size. Oh, that might be the last size I have. All right, here we go. Here goes nothing. That's the stuff. Okay, so you can kind of see how much fur I've actually. Well, I'll show you. This is the amount of fur I took off of there. So it was pretty. It was time well spent. He's still got a lot of ways to go, but he's starting to get there. So here we go. So his eyebrows are right here. Let me put these eyes back on. So this is the way I found them before. So I have a little pin in here in my hand. And there's the hole for it. And I can stick the pin up through the hole and then mark it. I'll pull the pin back out. Where's my scissors? I don't have my scissors. Just a second. There's an ear. But it's got to be here someplace. Okay. Oh, found him. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take that. Let's get my hand back down in there with a nut. And poke the hole for his eye. Everybody's favorite part. Okay. There's one eye. There's a pin. Stick it up through. Find the other. Center of that. Mark it. I'm only marking it because once I make the slit, it's so easy to lose it. Nut. There's so much fur caught in the threads of this this bolt. There we go. Okay. All right. So hopefully you can kind of see how he's starting to come together. So that'll form out his cheeks there. And once I'll put some actual bangs on him, I'm going to trim this fur in the front a little bit more. I think it's starting to look like him. And you can see why his head was so much smaller, because this fur is really going to add some. It's almost the same size now. So anyway, I think I'm about done for tonight. I have to reglue the mouth plate here, get that all put in place. But right now I'm pretty happy with it. And when I tease out this fur on the sides and get it all trimmed, I think it'll look pretty good. I'll tuck the fur up under here. Clean that up. And then he'll have bags under there too. Where's his ears? So I think his ears are going to need to be a little bit bigger. A lot bit bigger. But I'll tackle that once I get to that point. Yeah, and he'll have like 3 bangs that come off the top like this. What are you gonna do? You gonna put them on posts like this, or what were you thinking? Yeah, he's gonna have a lot of expression, which the old Sammys didn't. Yeah. Alrighty, guys. I guess I might come back on tomorrow. I always say that and then never do it, but depends on how much I get done on this. I might pop on for a couple hours tomorrow and finish up his head at least. So if not, I'll see you guys on Monday. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.